The air was still that morning on the outskirts of a quiet rural town. Sarah, a soft-spoken farm girl with chestnut hair and a heart as gentle as the lambs she cared for, walked into school clutching her worn-out backpack. She had always been the quiet one, the kind of girl who preferred sketching wildflowers in her notebook over gossiping in the cafeteria. But her silence and humble background made her a target. A group of bullies, loud, arrogant, and hungry for attention, had marked her as easy prey. It started with mocking her clothes, then ridiculing the way she spoke. But that week, they went too far. After school, the bullies drove out near her family's farm, throwing bottles into their field, cursing at her younger brother, and leaving tire marks across the crops her family depended on. It wasn't just teasing anymore, it was harassment, and it cut deeper than Sarah ever let anyone see. At dinner that night, Sarah tried to hide the truth. She poked at her plate, whispering only fragments when her mom asked about her day. Her younger brother, however, spilled everything, the laughter, the shouts, the threats. Across the table, her father sat quietly, listening with steady eyes. To the town, John was just another farmer with rough hands and a quiet demeanor. But behind his calm presence was a history no one in their small community fully knew. John had once been Delta Force, the elite of the elite, trained for missions most people couldn't even imagine. And while he had retired to give his children a peaceful life, he had never forgotten what it meant to protect what mattered most. That night, as Sarah cried softly in her room, John stood on the porch staring out across the darkened fields. Memories of hostile war zones flashed in his mind, not because he wanted violence, but because he recognized the cruelty of unchecked power. He promised himself long ago he would never let his family suffer that kind of fear. The bullies thought they were dealing with just another quiet farm family. They had no idea who they were up against. The next afternoon, things escalated. Sarah was walking her brother home when the bullies' truck screeched to a halt at the end of the dirt road. They climbed out, laughing, tossing insults that stung like knives. One of them shoved Sarah's brother into the dirt while the others circled around. Fear filled Sarah's chest, but before she could react, a voice broke through the air, calm, firm, and commanding. "Step away from my kids." The bullies turned, expecting to see just another angry parent. But the sight of John walking toward them sent a ripple of unease through the group. His posture was steady, his stride deliberate. There was no yelling, no theatrics, just an aura of quiet authority that seemed to choke the arrogance out of the air. One of the boys tried to laugh it off, stepping forward. "We're just having fun, old man. No need to." But before he could finish, John moved. In a blink, he had disarmed the boy of tea. The sun was just rising over the quiet farmland, painting the sky with strokes of orange and gold. Sarah Thompson, a 15-year-old farm girl, stepped onto the dusty road leading to school. Her backpack was old, patched from years of wear, and her clothes were simple hand-me-downs. She kept her head low, not because she was ashamed, but because she had learned that silence was the safest shield. But in the hallways of her school, silence made her a target. The louder kids, the ones who came from money, the ones who thrived on attention, saw her as weak. Every day they pushed harder. Snide comments about her family's farm, laughter at her shoes, whispers about how she never fought back. Sarah absorbed it all, holding it inside like a storm waiting to break. Then came the afternoon that changed everything. The bullies, restless for new ways to humiliate her, decided to take their cruelty to her family's doorstep. Their truck tore through the dirt road leading to the Thompson farm, blaring music and hurling insults. They knocked over mailboxes, tossed bottles into the fields, and even shouted threats at Sarah's younger brother, Luke, who was barely 10 years old. That night, Sarah couldn't hold back the tears. Her mom tried to comfort her, but it was her little brother who angrily blurted out everything that had happened. Across the dinner table, their father sat in silence. John Thompson. To the world, he was a farmer. To his family, he was a loving father. But before all of that, before the farm, before the small town, he was something else entirely. John had been Delta Force. The kind of soldier sent on missions no one ever spoke about. He had walked through shadows most men couldn't survive. He had seen the worst of humanity, and had vowed to leave it behind. On the farm, he had found peace. But now, as his daughter sat broken before him, he realized that some battles couldn't be avoided. The next day, Sarah tried to act normal, but her bullies weren't finished. They waited at the end of the school road. As she and Luke walked home, the truck pulled up again, dust flying around them. The boys jumped out, blocking their path. One shoved Luke to the ground, laughing as Sarah rushed to pull him up. Another sneered, "What's the matter, farm girl? Gonna cry again?" But before Sarah could answer, a new voice cut through the air. Deep, steady, commanding. Enough. The laughter died instantly. Standing just a few yards away was John. He wasn't shouting. He didn't need to. His presence alone was enough to shift the air. His eyes, sharp, unblinking, locked onto the group of boys. They suddenly looked much smaller. One of the bullies tried to cover his nerves with a smirk. "We're just messing around, old man." John stepped closer. His movements were controlled, deliberate. In a flash, faster than any of them could process, he disarmed the boy of the bottle he was holding, twisting his wrist in a way that made him yelp in pain before releasing it. John did.